Botswana, ona bona V. V had a Range Rover. V had a Porsche car where he's always wanted to have a Porsche, right? The anger. Yeah, daddy village, yeah, import, the Hong Kong is not real. And there's Lesoma was dating, there's a period where he was dating this girl I share for you.
Naledi.
No. That's
Rachel.
Rachel. There was a period where they were dating. And Rachel is, I know because Rachel is my business partner is good friends with Rachel. And we laughed with Rachel because he gave Rachel the car. He bought a Range Rover. He gave Rachel the car to drive because her car had an issue. So I know, take my car and then your car needs to get fixed. After 2 days, then it's cool. Because as a boyfriend, you do that.
You want to make sure she's okay.
So these people like, hey, what's on a Range Rover? And somebody goes, what is a big Yago Modi? It's import. It's not like this. So that's not what I get it. The reason you must never be bitter or angry is that's the animal you're dealing with. When you are down and out, they throw a party. Yeah, I've heard people, and that's why I don't hang out with niggas. People celebrating when somebody's marriage is falling apart. That man made that money. He didn't steal from anyone. He made that money himself. He didn't steal that. That girl that he's married to was not someone's wife. The guy worked hard, made some money for himself, met a woman that he liked. They fell in love. They got married. They built a family. They had kids. You are celebrating the fact that his business is struggling and is causing financial problems. And with that financial strain, now his marriage is struggling. And you would think it's funny. You're having drinks to that shit.
Welcome to Moving Humanity Forward podcast. My name is Kathy Malajani. I like to tell people that I'm the diamond girl. You can call me DG, just like our HE. And yes, I know that rhymes just like Kathy. Yeah, we're getting rapper as time goes on, all right? But our guest today is somebody who I don't think I ever heard try to be a rapper. I know at some point radio presenters tried to do that. But he does wear quite a number of hats, and one of them currently, I think, at the forefront is founder of Business of Sports Summit. He's a former radio and TV presenter. He is a former Yarna FM programs manager. And if you recall a project that was called ICE 100, there was an online radio station. He was also one of the people very much behind that particular one. He is a former colleague. I've had the pleasure of working with him and the honor of saying my brother, my friend. And so that means I get to ask anything that my inquisitive mind brings my way. He goes by the name Bonnie Dintwa. A very good afternoon to you, Bonnie. Welcome to Moving Humanity Forward podcast.
Hey, what's up? Thanks for having me. You forgot I was the first general manager of UPIC TV, Botswana's first.
Yes, UPIC TV as well.
Yeah, I was their first GM.
Yeah. You know, you and I were just talking about how you've broken quite a lot of barriers and been the first in a lot of things. I think one of those was being one of the first radio presenters to have worked at all of the radio stations at some point, except for RB1. I think you did RB2, you did Yarona, you did Duma FM. Oh, you never did Gabs FM.
I was on the board of Gabs FM.
You were on the board. So in a way,
I was everywhere.
You've been everywhere.
I was also the first guy to be on television, radio, and print at the same time.
Wow, you were on print?
I was writing for La Pologa while I was at RB2 and while I was at BTV.
What were you presenting on BTV?
BTV at the time I was doing Flavor Dome. And then I was doing RB2's Midday, and then I was doing La Pologa.
Wow. Wow.
Yeah.
So you've got quite an extensive background as far as media and broadcasting in Botswana. Maybe just start off by taking us a little bit through your background. We know you're a Silibe Pikwe gentleman. Take us through what else. Who is Bonnie?
Wow, man. I've done so much stuff. So I remember when I spoke to Sky, he said, "Gotta do like an episode where we just focus on the work you've done."
Yeah.
So I was. At some point, it's so weird being old now and saying this. So at some point, I was the youngest primetime presenter at RB2.
Okay.
Yeah, when I did afternoon drive 12 to 3 at RB2. live and large. And then I'm a guy who I like working. So when she also at the time was like, Poloha said to me, yo, you wanna write an article because they thought I was witty and funny, and the article was basically just looking at life from my lens and what I saw. It's like cool, but it was work, so I had to write, and then I had to learn how to write for print.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I was doing TV. Had started with Chawabale on a late night show called Miribo, which crazy amount of traction that we got. We were on so late at night, on at like 11 p.m. at night, but the viewership became so big. And the TV station did what these businesses do. It's like, okay, then we have to take him from Maribo to Flavor Dome, because Flavor Dome was like our prime time show. And then I ended up Coco Flavor Dome. And I was lucky enough at Flavor Dome to kind of experience stand-up movie and work with, what's this guy's name, man? Short, very, very dark-skinned. Mom was Nasha, Tabiso. I worked with Tabiso Nasha as well. So I got lucky because I worked with some of the really most talented people and the coolest people at the time. And I was just a little bit younger than everyone, so I was always kind of listening and learning and absorbing everything that I could learn, because I like to say, even when I train people, when I got old and started training broadcasters, I say to them, try to learn one new thing a day. Every 24-hour cycle in your day, learn at least one new thing. And if you do that, you will end up getting to a point where something turns into a habit. So 21 days forms a habit. If you do something every single day for 3 weeks, it'll turn into a habit. And then you do that habit and turn to 10,000 hours, you become an expert at it.
Yeah.
So to be able to kind of have started that way and become somewhat of an expert within the broadcast landscape, Botswana, it's purely just from being able to learn. And that's how you go from just being a young kid who's a presenter to you end up then being able to set up and start ICE 100. You end up being head of programming at Yarn FM and kind of building that product. Then you end up being the first general manager of UPIC TV and kind of helping to build that product. So I always say to guys, I'm a builder. I like looking at gaps and then filling those gaps. You're looking at what's missing and how can we go to the next level, in terms of this country. And then I try to fill those gaps. So that's what I do a lot of first, because I'm not afraid to try out stuff. When I travel overseas and I see something, I'm like, in Botswana, this thing is not there. And would it work in Botswana? I come back and I try it, man. I sit in meetings with people with money and try to get them to fund these crazy ideas. And fortunately, all of those, if not all, most of those ideas have turned into something that's tangible and has people who I look at now and go, oh, can I build this thing? And look at these people now benefiting from it. So I'm very, very proud of the opportunities that I've gotten and stuff that I've been able to do.
How did you get those opportunities? Did you study media and broadcasting, or did you just know somebody and you just kind of threw it?
That is the weirdest thing. I was supposed to be a medical doctor. And then I got into industrial design.
Okay.
So you see how I was never anywhere near media.
Yeah.
So I had never had any interest in being on radio or being on television. And I got on television first. People don't realize I'm the radio guy, but I was on TV.
Yeah, I remember you on TV first.
Yeah, and it happened because my older brother forced me to go to an audition. He drove me
from Pigway
to audition, yes. And then I was here.
Hey.
He drove me to audition and just dumped me at the audition. BTV had that. So BTV used to do these open casting calls where you just show up like idols, And my brother and I were at there's a place called Sports Cafe. I used to love that place. So every Thursday we had Sports Cafe for karaoke night.
Okay.
So at Sports Cafe, and we'd be there until like 6 a.m. We'd be out, bro. So he then, from Sports Cafe, went to like drop me at the multimedia complex. It's like, what am I doing here, bro? Nah, you should be on TV. There's an audition on TV. You should be on TV. And I think I lost that dare, so I had to do the audition. So I did that first audition. I was in that weird little pocket between drunk and hungover.
I was about to say you'd had a few drinks.
No. So you have a few drinks and you're drunk, and then there's a weird little sweet spot, and then you go to hangover. So before I arrived at hangover, when I was still tipsy, I was auditioning. And the guys that auditioned me were Kariso Mabini and Samuel Ngwenya. I think
Yes.
Ntho Chilumu was doing camera. Guys who later became friends. And they said, we saw something. There's something here. Right? We could see you weren't all there, but there was something there. And so I called back. I got the call back.
Yeah.
And obviously the call back, I'm now 100% sober and whatever. And then we do the call back. And that's how I got the job. And all these other opportunities. I knock on doors. You want to do ICE 100? I spoke to different people. I remember the first person I spoke to at ICE 100 didn't actually work out was Mike Proctor. Mike was doing condoms, so Mike had a little bit of money. He actually had a lot of money. Mike has some money, and Mike is from the DJ culture,
Yes.
which is kind of where I started a lot of years ago. I first met Mike when I was probably...
Wait, you DJ'd? I don't know about that one.
Yeah. So
what was your moniker?
But I've always just used my name.
Bonnie.
So Mike, I was 17 years old. I think 17 years old. That's when I met him. Francistown. Francistown. That's the same place I met Ice Queen. And it was I think it was a Sprite rap activity. They were doing something, hip hop, whatever. And Mike then brought me in to be one of the judges.
Okay.
Because he knew me from like the DJ scenes. Like, you're a young DJ.
Yeah.
This guy's scratching and stuff. Come be one of the judges.
Yeah.
And that's why I met Mike since then. And we've always been cool since then. An older guy that I could always ask for advice and whatever. So he was the first person we were trying to squeeze money from to kind of do to online radio. And that took a little longer than whatever. And I was like squeezed and pressed, and then ended up working with somebody else to do ICE 100. So what I do is I just ask people, man. And the worst thing can happen to you is
they
no.
can say no.
You're not gonna die if you say, let's try this, and somebody says no. So I think a lot of young people need to kind of build that.
Yeah.
You know.
And I've actually had that as a concern from a couple of ambassadors who have said, the frustrating thing about Botswana is they just won't knock on the door. Like, you'll come and say, as the ambassador of whichever country, we have these opportunities, we'd like to work with Botswana, and this is what we have on the table. And nobody will come and knock on their doors. And they're like, what's going on, Why do you think that is? Are we entitled? Do we have a silver spoon in our mouths?
No, we don't. I think.
Rabui.
Yeah, I was gonna say Botswana. So the biggest thing that from culture Arona that's always been put out there was this thing Tongbotu. So we Tongbotu directly means ditong equals botu, which in English means if you are shy or timid, it means you show a level of respect. I get. But that's not true. Being timid and being shy doesn't mean it just means you're timid and you're shy. I talked to a lot of guys. I literally left social media for like a year and a half. I only went back to Facebook recently essentially for the Business Sports Summit. Because you can't promote anything really in this country now. Facebook. Personally, I haven't been on Twitter forever. I think I've been on Twitter for 2 years. But now that I've gone back, it's the same that always happened years ago. I'm getting a lot of DMs, a lot of young people, even older people who aren't necessarily really young, who would just, I'm thinking about this, whatever. And the answer is always the same. Who have you spoken to about this? What doors have you knocked on about this? Who have you really tried to engage and say, I'm extremely passionate about this thing. I believe it can work. I've done the research and looked at the market here, Botswana, and I think we can build this thing. We can build this thing and people will come and it will work out and be great. And everybody's just so afraid. And I think culture, but there's also a fear. When it comes to the business side, the biggest fear that Botswana has is Botswana afraid to fail. Botswana feel like...
How come you don't have that fear?
I don't have that fear because, talking about culture. I laugh is I was born here, but my ancestors are not Tswana. So I think my blood because it's not the blood of Tswana ancestors. Can I because you come from ancestors who were travelers and explorers and were willing to go and try and move to a different country and try. So I think it's in the blood. Yarones Batswana. A friend of mine from Mauritius once said to me, Are, you need to speak to young people in this country about going against their nature.
Yeah.
No, All of us have a nature. We in Mauritius have our nature. People in Jamaica have their nature. Americans have their nature. But anybody who kind of succeeds and builds anything successful has to go against that natural instinct. That's why the natural instinct in Botswana is not necessarily spoon-fed, but it's, I don't want to take the shot and then fail. I don't want to take the risk. Botswana culturally we are very risk averse people.
Yes.
As a nation. Risky So to do anything in your career that's different, to build anything in a business that's new and unexplored, or somebody who has a level of fearlessness and somebody who has a level of not being afraid to be mocked and ridiculed and laughed at. Because when somebody's new in Botswana, I was saying to you off camera before we started, Botswana, the three stages that happen when you try anything new. The first stage is ridicule.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah.
It's they ridicule you and they laugh at you. This thing won't work. Doesn't matter. Ha 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 ha. You leave offices. Professor Mukwati said at the summit Malova, Botswana is a place where you show up and you do a presentation in the office and they smile, and then when you leave,
And that's true.
So that's the first stage. And then when you don't let the ridicule and the mocking stop you, keep going. Then comes resistance. They will build walls and they will fight and they will tell you how this thing is not going to work, and they will fight and they will do WhatsApp groups and meetings to stop you.
Yeah.
And, And then when you keep going, even with despite the resistance, comes the pure confusion.
Nice.
Now they're confused. We laughed at this person. Then we tried to stop this person. How is this person still here? Right? But if you get through those three stages, this is what I tell young people all the time. If you survive those three stages and you succeed, right? Then what happens? Then they put you on a pedestal and you're this big,
amazing person
or whatever, right? So you have to understand what the culture of Botswana. You're not going to do anything new without going. So when I explain my career to you, how many times do you think I've lived through those three stages?
Many times.
So I'm 47 now. I started at 21. So I've been
26 years.
Yeah, 26 years of being ridiculed, resisted against, looked at like I'm an alien, and then after that the love comes.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So I tell that all the time. Even the stuff I was doing on radio, I say to guys, I was the first person in this country to have a sports presenter. The sports presenter didn't exist before Live and Large. We literally invented having a segment on a show where somebody other than the presenter or the news bulletin comes and talks about sport.
Wow.
So Chiliboy wouldn't exist without Live and Large. Fox Pedzim wouldn't exist without Live. Skilo wouldn't exist.
Yeah.
So people now are able to feed their families and have actual careers and jobs because of an idea that came from my brain.
Nice.
And said they should be a sports presenter who just does sports.
Yeah.
And you will never hear anybody tell you that. Nobody's going to write an article and say, you're not going to create the sports presenter. You understand?
You're giving yourself your own flowers because we're not going to give you your flowers.
Because I'm not going to get those flowers.
Yeah.
Nobody has, I think Fox Padzim, what FM is the one who once said to me, I wouldn't exist. This job I do wouldn't exist if you had. So if I die, if I drop dead right now on this podcast, you'll be shocked at the amount of stuff that's going to come out about Bonnie's one who did this.
Yeah, Bonnie put me on here. Okay, we'll talk
about
that.
We wait for death.
Yeah, we wait for you to be dead and then we want to recognize and love you. So I wonder if that 3-step that you were talking about, the thirds, after you pass those 3, they love you. Do they really love you, Botswana? Really? Do we ever really put our own on a pedestal? I don't think we really do, though.
So Batswana
give me an example of somebody who's on a pedestal.
Batswana love like Americans, right? So, and this is an example. Americans love you, and they wait for your downfall.
Wow.
And then they love like a comeback.
That's toxic. That's not love, guys.
That's American love, right? And then the one thing that American love does, which is kind of different from Botswana love, is Americans love a comeback story.
Yeah. But right? Botswana don't really care.
So Trump is president of the U.S., right?
Yes, and that's part of that is because he was a comeback.
A lot of people see Donald Trump as president of the U.S. They don't realize that, but Donald Trump had to suffer.
Yeah.
Donald Trump has had 11 bankruptcies. Yeah. And he had to overcome all these things I was speaking about.
He was literally being found guilty and stuff.
So 37 felonies. So you have to, Americans and Botswana, they put you through the fire and the ringer, right? And then when you come out of it, so they first you show up and you're new and you're shiny, then they put you on a pedestal. Then they push the pedestal and tip it over so you fall, right? And then if you come through the suffering and then you come back, they love that. They love a comeback story. Our president DGB, what has he gone through? You see how they love him now? Because it's like he's a comeback
I just
kid.
think
He went through
that
all
is
that
toxic.
suffering.
That's not love, man. What you're
No, but
describing is some
that's
toxic
Botswana.
GBV.
Nah, that's
Toxic.
Botswana love. That's our
No,
culture. That's
and I don't
Botswana
want
and
that
American
love.
love. That's how we love.
This is Moving Humanity Forward podcast. Follow us on TikTok, on LinkedIn, as well as on what's the channel? TikTok, YouTube. That's the other one. Moving Humanity Forward podcast, and then on Facebook, find us by typing MHF podcast. We'll be right back. Welcome back. This is Moving Humanity Forward podcast. I'm still hanging out with Bonnie Dintwa, and I don't want to let this one go, Bonnie. I still maintain that our love is very toxic as a nation. We don't really love you. In fact, can I put it to you this way? What I've noticed more, Botswana, is for you to get the accolades, and a lot of the time the payment is if the world recognizes you first and then you'll get paid. Because let me just put it out there. I've had a situation where somebody to my face said to me, I was going to get this international MC, and I know how much that person charges, right? But I thought of you, and I thought to spotlight you. So I was really, happy. But then when I tried to charge, and I intentionally tried to charge a quarter of what that person, a quarter. So no, and you can't tell me that that person, yes, maybe followers, because obviously you won't have as many followers, Botswana, as maybe the rest of the world. But as far as doing the work, I know what I bring to the table as an MC. You know what I mean? So let's bring it to sports, because that's where we're going to go. And I want to put this to you to say, we have Litsile Tebogo and we have Colin, right? And you'll find, I believe Litsile only started getting the love that he gets because he was recognized internationally. Someone like Colin would not get, in fact, why don't we love Colin as much as we love Litsile?
Okay, so just from a brand perspective, right? So nobody has done what Colin has done since Michael Johnson, right? So he's probably the greatest long sprint runner in the history of the sport since Michael Johnson. And he also added having the fastest 100-meter time on the planet, right? On top of that. So he's a special,
so Colin
he's a special guy.
is a big name.
He's a special guy. We just won the gold at the World Relays, right? The men's 4x4. Colin won us that gold, right? His split was incredible, and he literally won us that gold. But every single time anybody speaks about, I'm talking about the average person in the street, Botswana speaks about it, that is to say Litsile. Nobody ever talks about Colin, right? And what is the key difference between Colin and Litsile?
So Litsile has experienced some tragedy in the passing of his mom.
And Litsile won on the back of his mom's passing.
Yes.
So that builds a really cool backstory. What's Colin's backstory from a brand perspective? So even if you listen to...
if you say from a brand perspective, he built himself up, and let's still acknowledge the fact that we don't really have the support that a lot of the rest of the world has as far as sports. Because most children, if you get identified at a young age or you do something well, your parents, the coaches, the school, everybody will be supporting you to get to where you get. And so that's why a lot of the people, especially in the sports, I'm so proud of us as a nation, because you'll find they had very little support. And so to see them shining on a global stage is a very big thing. So as far as a global or a brand perspective, that is a huge story even on its own. But this person came from nowhere and he's now breaking records.
Are you as a country, as the Botswana brand, going to sell stories of Colin being, we don't support our own here, but he made it anyway?
No, I can't.
You can't say that.
But this is where this is where I'm saying, as Batswana, do we really love our own? Why do we wait to be recognized by the world? And we need the world to recognize you before we can recognize you. Why is that the case? Why do we love somebody who's suffered, basically? We want you to suffer. Like you said,
we want you to
president,
suffer. Yeah.
you must suffer first and then we'll love you.
But I gave that example, DGB. He had to suffer to become president. Literally had to suffer and lose his mother to be loved and recognized. People suffer really hard. So I said to you, Botswana love is like American love. We want you as people, as a person, to go through the fire. And it's almost as if you must earn our love. And to earn Botswana's love, you must suffer. So that's like Americans are the same. Americans love a sob story.
But even then, if you earn the love, like we're still waiting for guy. Look at what we're doing with Litile right now. He should fall.
There's a lot of negative comments online. You know what I mean? We punch holes in you.
Exactly. So do we ever really just love someone and say, this is our person and we just love them? I cannot think of anybody, or even if you take somebody like Mpule Kwelahobe, and how long ago was that she really put Botswana on a platform? We still will find ways to punch her, exactly. Yeah. We will.
There's always a negative. Right?
Is there anyone, Hella, that we genuinely love? So I want to know how you pivoted, going from medical doctor to
never media,
to media and broadcasting, and then sports, because I believe you actually always loved sports.
Yeah, I used to play basketball. People don't realize I won a national championship with Troopers later in my basketball career.
You were a basketball player?
Yeah, I got a championship with Troopers. I played for Pico Falcons for years and years. You can Google me. I'm in the newspapers. Bonnie Dintwa, the basketball player. I was in the first national team of basketball. It was 97, 98, I believe. It was the very first national team. And I was one of the guys that made it with Boratan and Zayang, Mutuzi Pogoje, people like that.
Wow.
So I played basketball. So the basketball community knows me well. Nella Hardy, who's now the deputy PS.
Yeah.
She knows me from basketball.
Wow.
So that's something that then, because I got on television and radio, that kind of overshadowed everything. But people in the sports community, even the assistant minister of basic education now, we played basketball. So he knows me as Bonnie basketball, so he doesn't view me as a TV or radio guy, because the basketball guy is always like, no, you started here, so for us you will never be the TV guy. So the pivot now into sports as a business was because I'd spent more than half my life in media and work with brands, and then my partner being Mutusi, who I played basketball with since we were kids, really. He then stayed with sports and went into sports administration. He was on the executive of the Botswana Basketball Association. He's now pivoted and become an official, a FIBA ref. He's refed Euro basketball in the US, EuroLeague. I mean, in the UK, in Europe, in the Europe and Austria, Switzerland, Germany. He's done the refing. He's refed across Africa, BAL Basketball Africa League, the NBA basketball camps he's been a part of as a ref. So with all that extensive experience that he stayed on to be an administrator in sports, and then with all the experience that I then got with media and brand, and we're both guys who essentially, we started with sports. That is our first love. And so the problems that we experienced in 1995 in basketball or soccer or anything, I remember when I was the first national team in basketball that we did, was playing netball. So Selozomahang was volleyball.
Wow.
So those are people I know since, so those they days. Know me through sports more than anything.
Yeah.
So we had this conversation. The same problems that we were experiencing in 95 and 96 and 97 in sport.
They still exist.
They still exist in 2005 and 2006 and 2025. It's like, and then we said, if we don't try be the change we want to see happen, that means no one is ever going to change it.
Yeah.
So we said, cool, we're putting together a sports marketing agency because that will allow us to do business, but then also allow us to push the thing that we really want to push, which is try create funding and money for athletes. I would have loved it in 98 when I was playing basketball to have a pathway to be able to play basketball for money and feed my family.
To do it professionally.
Yes. Bonare, for folks who stay in it, you had to become a ref, an administrator. You know, and then everybody else, you know, you look at Ratanang now is in the hospitality industry. Do you understand? God, you see, we are far from it.
Just because you
To
have to
survive
put
and we
meals
get
on the
older, yes.
table.
So
Yeah.
like we refuse to run. What we're gonna do is we're gonna go right back to sport, and our focus is going to be the business of sports, so that sports can now feed families, right? And it was the best possible time to do it, because I said, look at the success we're having with Bolitsile and Bo Colin and things that's happening. If you look at boxing as well, the guys fighting for world championships at boxing by Batswana. Guys may not know this because Botswana don't really follow Botswana
Yep,
sport.
even things like yoga.
Yes,
We recently
so-
had someone from Botswana go and get placed. I think she was third place worldwide.
Yeah, and we
globally.
just did how many medals go karate in Africa as well. So Botswana, if you look at sport is low hanging fruit in terms of turning that from recreation to business, because the quality and talent is there.
Yeah.
It's so much harder to make money out of something where the talent isn't there. So sports and arts, you can't tell me that ATI was not one of the greatest artists to ever walk the face of the earth from anywhere.
Yeah.
You can't tell me that Little or Colin are not incredible athletes. You can't tell me that our karate guys or our swimming guys or the tennis guys.
Yeah.
Dude, it's there. All we are
Across
doing
the
is
board.
we are now building a company, but called Thomas Hall Media, which is sports media, sports marketing. And we're kind of bridging that gap to make sure that these athletes now are able to make money and feed themselves and their families with sports.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So one of the things we spoke about, because you recently held a summit, it was called the Business of Sports Summit.
Yeah.
And one of the things we were talking about is the fact that nothing is going to change if policy A doesn't exist.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And we were talking about that to say one of the biggest issues that we have with our economy, we talk about diversification, and we've been talking about it, but for as long as we're talking and there's no policy, then we're just talking.
Yeah.
Right. But if you look at our media, our arts, our culture and sports,
Yeah.
that's one of exactly what you've just said, the lowest hanging fruits.
Yeah.
So where would we start with regards to creating these policies? What would be, and especially because you have experience pretty much across board with all of these, and we were speaking about this, what would be, in your mind, the first place that we can begin? If we have a government on board, we have the willpower, right, the political willpower, where do we start?
So that's the perfect question, right? And that's why with the first business sports summit that we did, our focus was purely on policy, because we understand that nothing can move forward, nothing can get done if it doesn't start with one, political will, which will then trickle down to government's direct involvement, and with government's direct involvement then becomes a policy shift. When the policy shifts, then it creates an enabling environment for then the private sector to move in and go forward. So Thomas Hall Media, we're members of Business Botswana as a company. And something that Business Botswana will tell you all the time is that government doesn't necessarily create jobs. Government doesn't necessarily create business. What government does is it creates policies that create an enabling environment for us then to succeed. So as a farmer, you hope the weather is great. And when the weather is great, you're able then to plant, to sow.
Yeah.
Then when everything works out, you reap. So that was our starting point. So our starting point with putting this summit together was as far back as January 2025. We were having conversations with Minister Kilebeng at the Ministry of Sports and Arts, who's the principal. He's our primary. We also had conversations with the Ministry of Entrepreneurship, because we were saying this is business and it's sports. Because this was essentially a business summit with a focus on sports as a business. And then we obviously then had to speak to the BNSC, Botswana National Olympic Committee as well, BNOC, and just kind of get all these major acronyms which run sports in Botswana in one place, because there's really no point of us talking about changing the way we view sports in this country if at policy level it doesn't change. And let me give you a classic example. Even kids now in university, Udomo studies sports recreation and sports management. What does recreation mean? So until at government level we realize that recreation and sports are not the same. Sports should now be business.
Yeah.
Should be industry and not recreation. There's nothing wrong with recreation. A recreation, go bars and nightclubs owners association. Recreation is vibes, right? But even with that vibe, there's still a business involved. Those guys are still running businesses, right? But you need to completely do surgery and completely remove recreation from anything to do with sports. So when the policies are done, rintsitse recreation, my white paper, rintsitse recreation, go lights and local parliament when the minister speaks about sports. About MPs and other members of cabinet, we're no longer looking at recreation. So that was a starting point with the Business Sports Summit this year. That's why the welcome remarks from the BNSC, right? Custodians of sports in this country. The keynote address, which was the title was around how you turn sports into an industry, was the minister. The very first person to speak, the first presentation, was the Deputy Premier Secretary, Boinelo Heidi, talking about what? Policy and how they're creating policies that will fit sports into Botswana economic transformation program, right? Sports cannot just keep eating money from the taxpayer and the government. Sports must now put money into this country and then pay tax.
And I want to believe that it has shown us its potential to do that.
Yeah.
And so I wonder, how quick of a turnaround time do you see this all having? Because you're talking about policy being made, and hopefully we'll get to see them. I think for me, it's frustrating because Botswana, we talk very beautifully, but when it comes to implementation, it's not something that we see. I also want to believe that our population is getting more educated on such issues. So what would your wish list be as far as the population coming on board and this policy, being put on the table?
The reality ultimately is we have, very quickly, we have a leadership right at the very top under DGB who has said, I'm not even waiting for 5 years. In 3 years, I want to see actual change in this country.
Nice.
And fortunately, I don't know if it's serendipitous or it's just meant to be. Fortunately, as we speak, the ministry is currently working on a framework.
Okay.
It's currently, it's a thing that's happening. What we did at the Business Sports Summit and what we contributed is going to fall into that policy framework, right? Where a big part of that framework is how do we take care of veteran athletes and make sure that we involve them and are able to continue earning money once they've stopped playing.
Yes.
Another big part of that framework that the government is working on is how do we focus on hosting more international events, which will then create all these great jobs around the sports ecosystem. We saw with the relays, that was the first one.
Yeah.
The things we didn't do well, the things we did well. But what do we learn from the world relays, taking it forward? If we want AFCON, for instance, what do we learn to make sure that when AFCON comes here, everybody, Botswana, has access and opportunity to eat from a business perspective, right?
Yeah.
Those are things the ministry is working on. The BITC as well, we had Brand Botswana there, Tusopalai. We've had very, very fruitful conversations with the BITC to say, investor sports infrastructure, sports manufacturing, all that. So Cesar as well, the CEO of Cesar was at the BMSC, very, very supportive. CEO of Gambling Authority was there. MK is very, very supportive. So we've got people in the SOE segment. We've got people in government who are pushing these things forward. And after the summit now, we're meeting with the CEO of Business Botswana just to sit and say, what did we achieve and what do we need for the private sector to do to push government to make sure? Because it's a partnership. And I believe that with the leadership that we have now with Rakele Bey at the ministry, with Boinelo Heidi at the ministry, there are people who they're accessible. There are people who are accessible, who I can reach out to on the phone and they go to the office and literally just help where we can, because there's no point pointing the finger at political leadership if we're not helping them. Yeah.
When we've run out of time, I'm going to ask you to just talk about what's next for you. Let's close off with what's next, what's on the table, because I want to believe you've done it, right? The summit happened, it's done. What's next? And let's close there.
What's next is what's been happening, man. We're servicing our clients. We're servicing the Botswana Football Association and trying to grow them commercially. We're very proud to now be working with the Botswana Football League and the Premier League and trying to make sure that product, which in my view is a massive product,
it really
should start bringing in huge money.
It really is.
For those
conflict
teams.
Of interest for me with
that.
that.
Okay, but they should be huge, bringing in huge revenue.
Yeah.
So I want to see guys at the Premier League level reap huge money. Botswana Football League should be a massive, massive business. Botswana Basketball Association is our client. We're about to host 3x3, International 3x3 tournament.
Nice.
Basketball is a huge sport with massive potential in Botswana. So it's always the next thing. It's always, how can I make basketball better, football better? How can I make softball better? So that's what it is. And then we go on to the next one. 24th of June, 2027 is next Business or Sports Summit.
24th of June, 2027.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Where do we find you between now and then? How do we rally behind you?
Look, rally behind me in real terms, man. Forget social media. In real life, rally behind me. Figure out how to contribute to this country and make it better in your specific space.
Yeah.
I get accounts, I get opela, I get obina, I get otaboga, I get admin. Please, just as Batswana, the thing that I hope for is be kind. Be willing to listen and be kind. God, even if you don't necessarily agree with something or like it, the way you reject it with grace.
Yeah.
Let's just be kind and treat each other with a little bit more respect. And just, if you're in a leadership position, in your position of power, be humble. Okay? Be open to suggestions and learning from people outside of your immediate scope. That's what we'll do as a country. Move forward together. Yeah.
I love that. We're moving forward together and we're moving humanity forward together. My name is Kathy Malajani. We'll see you next week.
Don't know.
When did they become those people, Bonnie?
They've always been those people.
At the time when, in the late 70s, when we are coming on board, raising villages, raising children as whole communities and villages, putting money towards...
But where were we? We were building, right?
Yes.
Once we built, we're not all in the same village or boat anymore. And let me give you a perfect example of how Batswana, okay? Right now, where I am in my life, right? And I always have to use myself as an example. Let's say I do a deal. That deal pays me 20 million pool, okay? Right? I'm going to go off estate. For safety reasons, I want my kids to be able to run around it. I'm living in Pakalani because I think it's a nice, safe suburb. My wife and kids can say to me, we are going for a walk.
And you're not worried.
I know somebody's going to pull a knife on them.
Yeah.
My wife and kids will walk from my house because it's not far from Acacia. They'll walk from my house to Spa, go do some shopping, then walk with my kids, 11 and 8 years old, and go to 2 girls, 11 and 8, and a woman. I'm not worried about their safety, right? So now, I was even the safest place in Bakalani is a Gulf Estate. So if I have that kind of money, I'm taking them to even the safest place in the Gulf Estate, right? The second it comes out that I live in the Gulf Estate, right? Then the anger and the vitriol comes out. Me living in the Gulf Estate will take nothing away from this nigga, right? Botswana, ona bona V araga Range Rover. V una araga Porsche car where he's always wanted to have a Porsche, right? The anger. Yeah, daddy village import the Hong Kong is not real. And there's Lesoma Toro was dating. There's a period where he was dating this girl I share for you.
Naledi.
No.
Rachel.
Rachel. There was a period where they were dating. And Rachel I know because Rachel is my business partner is good friends with Rachel. And we laughed with Rachel because he gave Rachel the car. He bought a Range Rover. He gave Rachel the car to drive because her car had an issue. So I know, take my car and then your car needs to get fixed. After 2 days, then it's cool. Because as a boyfriend, you do that.
You want to make sure she's okay.
So these people like, hey, what's on a Range Rover? And somebody goes, what is a big Yago Modi? It's import. It's not like this. So that's not what I get it. The reason you must never be bitter or angry is that's the animal you're dealing with. When you are down and out, they throw a party. Yeah, I've heard people, and that's why I don't hang out with niggas. People celebrating when somebody's marriage is falling apart. That man made that money. He didn't steal from anyone. He made that money himself. He didn't steal that. That girl that he's married to was not someone's wife. The guy worked hard, made some money for himself, met a woman that he liked. They fell in love. They got married. They built a family. They had kids. You are celebrating the fact that his business is struggling and is causing financial problems. And with that financial strain, now his marriage is struggling. And you would think it's funny. You're having drinks to that shit. That's why I gotta get it. You're going to be mad at a person you know when they do some ridiculous shit to you. Somebody like that, you can't be angry at that person when that person does some shit to you. Because that's what that person is. They're a toenail of
So
Satan.
why are you in? So why are you in here fighting to make that person's life better?
I'm not fighting to make that particular individual's life better. I'm trying to fight to make the country and the environment better. Because if we change the circumstances and the way things are, and then we fight to change that, then we change the mindset. And that asshole is done. But his child, his son and his daughter, Bonnie, we may be able to make them better people. And when you make them better people, that means my kids now are not growing up having to face the same challenges and hate
That you did.
that I hate. So you have to think long term. I cannot be angry, okay, at anything that happened when I was putting the sports summit together. All I did was I put on blinders and I said, this is what I want to achieve. I'm going to do it. And I delivered it.